So today I'm going to talk about how to practice your sales skills. And if you know me for any length of time, you know that I think this is the most critical section of your wholesaling business. Sales and negotiation is your profession. Okay, now this is a foreshadow of what today's episode is all about. But before we jump into today's show, make sure you download a copy of the very same script that we use in our company. We've used it to lock up over 1,400 deals in our own company, and we've trained tens of thousands of the most successful real estate investors across the country. And this is the one that they use too. So go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. Again, that's nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script. So I have also a Facebook shout out that I've got to read on the podcast. And this was from Jared Sandel. He says, Todd, we made $400,000 in a week using the instruction of Todd Toback. By the way, thank you. If you're in wholesaling and need help or want level up, look him up. Before you pat me on the back too hard, we were operating at a loss for Q1 this year. My website got hacked and someone was stealing our leads. It sucked and I got it fixed, but it forced us to seek out a way to get better at closing people. Toback's instruction provided us with a few small tweaks that made an immediate and monstrous impact. We got the biggest deal we have ever done. $211,000, $327 and 15 cents in profit. After closing costs, see the attached image. Then we got 4 more under contract this same week. I'm not a paid affiliate. Todd doesn't know I'm posting this. I only met him once at a conference in 2018. I just want to shout out publicly out of pure gratitude for what this instruction has done for our business. Well, humbly, Jared, thank you, right? This post is not about me, it's about you, because if you're listening to this, Jared, or if you are a wholesaler, deal size matters. Closing matters. Speed to transaction and money matters, right? And Jared took this seriously, took himself for a bad Q1, and man, made it out in a big, big way. And so whether you're first starting out or you're looking to take your business to the next level, today's episode will really, really speak to you. So make sure you download that script. And thank you, Jared, for sending that in. If you have a similar story or you need help or you want a question that we might answer on the podcast, email support at nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. And maybe you got a success story or question. I would love to hear from you. All right. So today I'm going to talk about how to practice sales skills, the most important skill in your real estate business. And I'm going to start today's episode with a recreation of the movie The 300. And the movie The 300 came out, I think, sometime in the late 2000s. And there was a movie about the Spartans who were fighting the Persians. And the Spartans had an army of 300. And these were soldiers. I mean, real soldiers. These soldiers were born to be soldiers from the day they were born, right? They took their young and threw them out in the woods and made them fight wolves and made them fight each other. And these were hard, battle-tested individuals. That's all they did, right, was fight. This was their profession, okay? A little foreshadowing of what's to come. So the Spartans, the 300, are to fight the Persians, and they decide to team up with some of the Greeks and Arcadians. And while they were on the trek to fight the Persians, they run into their friends, their allies, the Greeks and the Arcadians. And the Arcadians look at the 300, and they're a little frustrated with the Spartans. And he looks at them, and there's only 300 of them, and he says, I thought your commitment was as big as ours, right? I thought that you guys were in it like we were. We have thousands of soldiers, and you only have 300. And so the head of the Spartan army looks, and he kind of laughs underneath his breath, and he looks at the thousands of soldiers and talks to their head, their general, and he goes, He looks at one of their soldiers and he says, Arcadian, what is your profession? And he goes, blacksmith. And he looks at somebody else. He looks at the Greek and he goes, Greek, what is your profession? And he goes, potter. Right? And this goes on for 3 or 4 iterations of it. And obviously, all these people have these other professions that are not warriors. And all of a sudden, the head of the Persian army says, Spartans, what is your profession? And in unison, with the ground shaking, with like a thunderous, sound, they go, ah-ooh, ah-ooh, ah-ooh. And he looks at the Greek straight in the eye and he goes, you see, my old friend, I brought more soldiers than you. So got to go check out that clip, by the way, on YouTube. It's called What is Your Profession? And put 300 and it should pop up. But man, it just put chills in my spine because that is the way that we need to look at sales and negotiation if we are in the real estate business, right? If you are flipping houses or flipping contracts, you are not really in the real estate business, right? You're in the sales and marketing business, and you got to learn how to talk to people, negotiate big discounts. And that's why this episode is so important. The other part about this is I gave a talk this past weekend in front of 500 people, and I talked about this. You got wholesaler one who spends $5,000 a month. He's starting out, and he negotiates, a deal in which he wholesales for $12,500, and it takes him 3 months to close it. Well, think about this. He's got about $5,000 in overhead. He's got 2 or 3 months into the deal. He works 3 months for the deal, and at the end of the day, he's got about $7,000 or $8,000 in profit, right? Not including the time that he put in. Think about that, right? And by the way, maybe he's cold calling or she's calling, maybe not. But you see, there's and after marketing, I mean, we're looking at $4,000 or $5,000 here. Then you got the wholesaler number 2. And they know how to close. They understand what their profession is. And instead of only one deal, they close 2 deals. Okay, do you hear that? They only close one more deal. And instead of doing a deal that's $12,500, they do 2 deals at $30,000. These are not big tweaks, okay, if you follow me, right? So now you've got one person who closed $12,500, you got another person who closed $60,000, same marketing budget, but they just got same sales skills. One person makes $40,000 or $50,000 for the year. The other person makes about $500,000. That's what I'm talking about. All right. You must learn how to sell, influence, negotiate, get big, deep, discounted deals that are bank busting. And that's what we're going to talk about today on how to do that. So, number one, if you want to be a closer, you got to practice your sales skills. And so the first part of this is understanding, having the mindset of what is your profession. Okay, your profession is sales and negotiation. I'm going to say that one more time. Your profession is sales and negotiation. And once you understand that, you're fully committed, you're willing to put your business on the line, you got to get a system. Okay. You don't want to recreate. You don't want to go by your guts. You don't want to go by the seat of your pants. You want to use a system. Now, selfishly, although this is probably the best gift I could ever give you, I'm very partial to the no limit selling system. It's the same system that I've used to train my people. So you can go and check out, the price is embarrassingly low, nolimitsalessystem.com, and check that out. You could also listen to this podcast and string that together. But let's just say, Todd, I don't like your style. Go ahead. Buy something else. And practice it. Okay? There are some good sales training out there. And so, besides mine, not nearly as specialized. And of course, we're partial to it. But you need to dedicate yourself to learning, and not only learning, but mastering that system. So what does that take? It takes consistent practice. And practice is not talking to motivated sellers. Because when you're talking to motivated sellers, you're in the game, right? You're on the field if you're playing football, right? You're trying to score a touchdown. You got something on the line. You need to practice when there's nothing on the line, right? So you need to do that so that you can evaluate, so that you could work on your skills. So my suggestion is get a system and practice that system no less than twice a week. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. Number one is I'm going to listen, right? If I've got a system, I'm going to listen to that system, and I'm going to read, I'm going to understand it, I'm going to absorb it by watching or listening to that system, depending on how you're consuming that content. Number two is I'm going to practice that system, right? So either I'm going to say it in the mirror, I'm going to take some questions, I'm going to role play live with one of my friends, right? That's the doing during practice. And the third part is evaluation, where you actually record yourself on a phone call with a seller and listen to it. So I love the intensity of the National Football League, right? These people, they practice, 8 hours a day, and they watch film for like 2 to 3 hours a day on top of that, right? Preparing for their opponents, excuse me. They watch their competition the week before they play them, okay? And then after they play, they watch the tape of them playing, right? So you not only did listen to what they did last week, but then now they're going to watch what they're going to do next week for their opponents. So you got to listen to call recordings. So number one is you got to set a time to practice at least twice a week, at least. And if you're starting from scratch, I would do this every single day, at least for a couple hours. Next thing is I would work on one skill at a time. So we have 5 main communication techniques in the No Limit Selling System. But if you're working on something, you want to work on one skill at a time. I used to go to Toastmasters, and if you don't know what that is, it's a speaking club, and it's an old speaking club where they have all these local chapters. And they have these communication basics, and they'd only have you work on one skill at a time. And then every speech that you would do after that would actually build upon the last, like automatic. So you want to only work on one skill at a time. So I talk about the stealth mismatch often, and that's where we actually hit the seller with the exact opposite of what they think we will say, therefore flushing out maybe something they're hiding from us, right? So maybe I'll practice that on one call. Maybe on another call, I'll practice being really, really, really reluctant. Maybe another call, I'll practice on conditioning my seller for the price that I need to make a big, fat, juicy profit. That's important, right? So work on one skill at a time. Don't try to lose, or don't try to work on everything that you need to learn every single call. Next is, here's something that you can do. Make an offer every single day that is absolutely unreasonable and will scare the hell out of you, okay? Make an offer every day that absolutely is unreasonable, unreasonably low, and will scare the hell out of you. You got to build that muscle, big, fat, juicy deals, okay, that are profitable. And guess what? Eventually, the seller is gonna say yes, okay? And then you are gonna be flashing a $211,000 check on Facebook, okay? Next step, I talked about listening to the recording. So every Friday, we listen to recordings of calls. And make sure you do that the right way and the legal way, depending on what state you're in, okay? And here's the last part. There are many wholesalers out there who, they think they're good. And often when you think you're good, they kind of fall into that first camp that I talked about, where they're doing deals for 12.5, maybe 15, and you realize they're always kind of on the edge, right? The edge financially. And you got to get hungry. You have to think when you think you've made it, when your sales skills are up to par, that's when you need to start over from the beginning, okay? Because you need to refresh your mindset and stay hungry, stay like a rookie, like Eye of the Tiger, all right? And get better and better and better and better, okay? So I'm going to review this. Number one, understand that you got to understand what your profession is. And that is sales and negotiation. You got to understand this is really important. Understand that there's a difference between wholesaler 1 and wholesaler 2. Wholesaler 1 struggles every single month on a $5,000 budget. They have a net income of $4,000 to $5,000 a month, compared to the closer who closes one more deal, closes it faster, and turns those 12.5 deals into $30,000. He or she is netting 60 grand. At the end of the year, it's going to be about 500 a year after costs. Get a system. I suggest the No Limit Selling System. Check that out, nolimitsalesystem.com. Set a time to practice at least twice a week. Work on one skill daily. Make an offer every day that's absolutely unreasonable and scares the hell out of you. Listen to the recordings, right? Watch the tape. And when you think you've made it, that's when you got to get hungry and start over from the beginning. So hopefully this episode was helpful. Go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/script, and I will talk to you on the next episode.